All right, if you're in the project management world, you know that PMP credential is a huge deal. Well, get ready, because in 2026, it's getting its biggest overhaul in years. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what's changing, why it's changing, and most importantly, what it means for you and your career. Let's dive in.
So, the first big question is, why? Why this massive shakeup right now? This isn't just some small tweak or a minor update, we're talking about a fundamental rethinking of what the PMP certification even stands for. Well, the short answer is this. The job itself has completely changed. Being a project manager today is so much more than just managing scope, schedule, and budget. The entire profession has evolved, and the PMP exam is now making a huge leap to catch up with that new reality. And that brings us to the main idea behind this whole transformation. The Project Management Institute, or PMI, has a very clear mission here. They want to close the gap between what the certification tests and what the real world actually needs from its project leaders. They call it their Close the Gap strategy. And this isn't just some corporate buzzword. It's a direct result of massive research, talking with thousands of professionals all over the world. The consensus was clear. Success isn't just about checking boxes on a plan anymore. It's about creating real business value and making a strategic impact. Okay, so what does this strategic shift actually look like on the test? Well, the most obvious changes are in the exam's content domains, the big buckets of knowledge that you're tested on. Just look at this. This chart tells you almost everything you need to know. The business environment domain is exploding from just 8% of the exam all the way up to 26%. That is a massive jump, more than triple. What that's telling us is that the new PMP isn't just for a doer, it's being built for a strategist.
And this new focus comes directly from the challenges we're all facing on the job today. We're talking about using AI for better planning and risk analysis, thinking about sustainability and ESG goals, and making absolutely sure that every single project is tightly connected to the big picture strategy of the organization.
The exam is also changing how it looks at how we deliver projects. Now, traditional predictive methods, what a lot of us call waterfall, they're still important, making up 40% of the exam. But look at this. Adaptive, agile, and hybrid approaches now make up a full 60%. This just reflects the reality of how most projects actually get done these days.
Now, to really get what's happening with the exam, we've got to look under the hood at its main source material, the project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide. Let's see how it's changed to get us to this point.
Think about the PMBOK's journey this way. The 6th edition was like a recipe book, super prescriptive, with 49 specific processes you had to follow. Then the 7th edition swung the other way and became the philosophy, focusing on 12 high-level flexible principles. Now, the new 8th edition is trying to be the masterclass, blending that big picture philosophy with the practical structure we all need to actually get stuff done.
And this is so important because it shows PMI was really listening. PMBOK 7 was great for its focus on value, but a lot of us felt like we'd kind of lost our compass because it wasn't very practical for day-to-day work. PMBOK 8 is the answer to that, bringing back a clear yet adaptable structure that we can actually use.
And here's that structure, 5 focus areas. Now, if these look familiar, they should. They're a lot like the old process groups, but the key difference is that they're way more flexible. You can apply this logical flow to any kind of project, waterfall, agile, hybrid, you name it, without being locked into rigid rules. Let's talk processes. As you can see, we're going from 49 prescriptive processes down to 40 non-prescriptive ones. But this isn't just about cutting the numbers, it's a whole new philosophy. The new set is based on 7 performance domains, and get this, it was built using data from over 48,000 project managers to make sure it reflects what we actually do every day.
Okay, so we know the content is changing in a big way. But what about the actual experience of taking the test? What's it going to feel like on exam day? Let's break down the new format.
Here's the quick side-by-side. You're getting an extra 10 minutes, which brings the total time to a solid 4 hours. There are 5 more questions, for a total of 185. And here's a key detail. The number of unscored or pretest questions is doubling to 10. Those are the ones PMI uses to test out new questions for future exams. Your 2 10-minute breaks are staying the same.
Now for the really interesting part, the new question types. First up, case studies. You're going to get a long, detailed project scenario, like a mini project charter, and then you'll answer a bunch of questions based on that one scenario. People who took the pilot exam actually said this makes the test feel faster because you're not constantly having to read and process a brand new situation for every single question.
Next, we have something called practicum questions. Honestly, these sound pretty cool. They're designed to feel like you're actually on the job. They're little hands-on exercises where you might have to interpret a chart, use a digital tool, or analyze some project data to figure out the answer. It's all about testing application, not just memorization.
And the exam is just going to be way more interactive in general. It's not just going to be picking A, B, C, or D anymore. You'll be doing things like dragging and dropping risks to their correct responses, clicking on specific parts of charts, and selecting answers from pull-down menus. It's a much more dynamic way to test your real-world judgment.
Okay, listen up, because this is a golden piece of advice from somebody who actually took the pilot exam. They said that a lot of the time, none of the answers will feel perfectly right. The skill being tested is your ability to look at a messy, real-world situation and pick the best option, or the most correct path forward, even when every choice has a downside. It's about judgment, not finding a perfect textbook answer.
And let's be super clear about AI on the exam. It's not going to ask you to define artificial intelligence. Not at all. It's going to give you a scenario and test if you know how to apply AI-powered tools for things like predicting risks, forecasting your schedule, or making a tough decision with data. It's all about using AI as a tool in your toolbox.
So after all that, the big question is, what's the right move for you? With all these changes coming, how should you plan your own PMP journey?
It really boils down to a pretty simple choice. If you're already way down the road studying for the current exam, it probably makes sense to just push forward and take it before the changeover in July 2026. But if you're just starting out, you might want to wait for the new exam so that your certification is aligned with all the latest strategic thinking from day one. Remember, either way, you earn the same PMP credential.
Because really, when you step back and look at it, this update shows that the PMP is becoming something more than just a test of your knowledge of processes. It's becoming a true certification for strategic business leadership. So the real question isn't just about passing a test, it's about how you're going to step up and meet this new, modern standard for leadership in our field.